How's it going, Yankee fans? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Nick Nielsen, and today we're taking a look at a couple of infielders that Brian Cashman should potentially look at the trade deadline. Now, we know, according to Peter Gammons of The Athletic, that the Yankees are intrigued by some starting pitchers, notably Luis Castillo and Frankie Montas. So I don't know exactly why starting pitching is the preferential choice for Cashman right now. I guess I get it. The starting pitchers have seen a little bit of adversity in the last couple of weeks, against Tampa Bay and then notably Houston over the weekend. But, starting pitchers, depth, I mean, Castillo and Montas, they're starters, right? Like immediately they're starting. Who do you move in the rotation? That's what I'm saying. I don't know exactly who you move from the starting rotation in that same breath, but that's a conversation for another episode. We want to take a look at some infielders today. Before we do, Nick, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing really well, doing really well. I mean, splitting with Houston over the weekend was not ideal. You never want to split series and celebrate a split, but against that good of a team and for how the Yankees played in a lot of that series, I'll definitely take that. I mean, there's no better feeling than seeing the Aaron Judge walk-offs with the Moneyball edit on top of it. You get it every time, and I love it. And all the fans that are like, well, Moneyball, the point of Moneyball is to beat the Yankees. So you can't use the Moneyball theme with the Yankees. It's like, dude, it's just the song. Like, relax. Let's calm down a little bit here. Not my fault that movie is one of the best movies of all time. But I'm doing really well, man. Like to answer the short answer here. And I'm also very excited because Ron Marinaccio looks like he's earning his like stay in the bullpen. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before the episode. Last 10 appearances, 13 innings, 1 hit allowed. Dude's been lights out, which means that I'm almost 100% here with the clear green light to get a Marinaccio jersey and not have to worry about the guy getting sent down or getting traded, because they got the Wade jersey and Wade got DFA'd this offseason after. So that was sick. But I don't think Marinaccio is going anywhere. So I'm very happy to be feeling like I can get myself a Ron the Don of the bullpen jersey. But I'm doing really well, man. I'm excited to talk middle infielders today. How about yourself? Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Do yourself a favor. Do not buy an OG, like not like a official Marinaccio jersey. Go on like DHgate or one of those like
get one of them for cheaper.
Yeah, for like $19 for like you can throw it away.
$19.
It's like seriously. I just got a Kayvon Thibodeau color rush jersey. It's in here somewhere for $19. Like somewhere. I got an Aaron.
I love how he's never even worn it yet, and he's already got the color rush jersey.
I got it 2 days ago. Of course. But hey, also I got an Aaron Judge one. I think $17 looks pretty solid.
I got a David Robertson World Baseball Classic and a Tyler O'Neill World Baseball Classic jersey from DHgate. This one's authentic.
It's amazing.
This one's authentic fake. It's authentic with the name on the back.
Fake.
It's got the Tyler Wade name on the back.
Oh goodness.
So it's not a real jersey.
I've been bullied for having the name on the back before, so I can't.
I don't really care.
Anymore.
I mean, especially because it's Tyler Wade. Like I feel like
no one's gonna know
Tyler
that
Wade
number.
Jersey. I have to get a Tyler Wade. Like I have to put Tyler Wade in the back. Like let people know it's a T Dizzle jersey.
Totally.
But speaking of Tyler Wade, honestly, I love the guy, but he clearly would not have solved any problems in this middle infield. Like he's just honestly not putting it together at all this season for the Angels. Neither is Andrew Velazquez. So at least the Yankees didn't miss on those guys. But IKF has been a swing and a miss. I'm sorry. Swing and a miss for IKF.
Yeah, I mean, my take is that Oswald Peraza is killing it this month.
Yeah. And
he hit 2 home runs yesterday. Anthony Volpe had a walk-off homer to send Somerset to the playoffs. Pretty
crazy.
Dope.
2 walk-offs on one day.
Awesome. And then Peraza, he's looking great. Like, there's an argument to make that at some point this season, the Yankees should give Peraza a couple of games at the major league level and move IKF to third base, because I know you love Josh Donaldson, but I think he sucks.
JD's struggling. JD, and I will say I've lost my love for JD a little bit following the more revelation of the Tim Anderson.
I don't trust him.
That's the other thing. Like,
him at all.
Since he came back from the IL, he has been awful. Like so bad offensively. Like he's getting beat by everything.
He swings
93 mile an hour fastballs are like beating him. I don't know what it is. And everything he's like popping up or grounding out. So it's like we're not doing anything. On the bright side, his defense has been really, really good at third base. Like he and DJ have led to the Yankees having the best hot corner defense in baseball. So I'll take that. Like that's good at least. But IKF, you're right. He won his gold glove at third base. Shortstop wise, he's not good. He's barely above average. And when you bring in a guy that was supposed to be a defensive specialist, so you could live with his kind of flat, dull bat, when he's not a defensive specialist, you're just living with a dud bat. It's like, that's not what you want. IKF's only, I believe, doing well in terms of defensive runs or outs above average this season. Every other defensive metric he's negative in. So it's like, I don't trust that whatsoever. He booted a ball yesterday in extra innings. Or
Bad.
in
That
extra
was
innings
bad.
in the
Can't
ninth
do
inning.
that.
Yeah, it was an extra inning. Sorry,
It
jeez, Nick.
was loaded the
And
bases for a
it was,
king.
yeah, and it was awful. And then the next at bat, or the one that Trevino threw down to second when Castro was caught in a rundown. I know that was more on Trevino for throwing behind the runner. You never do that when he's leaning. But it was also an IKF for throwing it on the opposite side of the bag for DJ to somehow grab and reach around to tag it. The whole inning was terrible. And then he had that great sacrifice bunt, which was, I will say, a great bunt, but he apparently injured his finger in the process of doing so. So that's the other reason the Yankees need infielders. When Glaber now has his ankle injury and could be out for a week, sure, but it could be a couple weeks because you yourself spoke on personal experience in the post-game recap yesterday. Ankle injuries can nag, and if it's a high sprain, it can take some time. Boone said we dodged a bullet, which is great, but that means that he's probably not going to play for a couple of games. And that now begs the problem, or brings up the problem. If IKF's injured and Glaber's injured, it's going to be what? Marwin and DJ at shortstop and second, and then Donaldson at third. And if that has to go on for a while, we're going to see Carpenter playing more second base. Like there's some problems now, and the Yankees need to address it come deadline. Even if they're all healthy, I still don't want IKF taking a lot of at-bats in October. He doesn't deserve it. His best month right now is June, and he's putting up a 710 OPS and a 102 WRC plus, barely above league average for WRC plus and barely above league average for OPS this season. And that's his best month in pinstripes.
Look, IKF, in my opinion, he's athletic, he's quick, can run the bases decently well.
Great bench
he's
bat.
a good. And the thing is, he doesn't have any power, and the Yankees don't necessarily need power across the lineup. In fact, I've advocated in the past that I like some contact hitters. And he does make some good contact, but like he's not the clutchest guy. He does have his moments. Defensively, he's been a little bit he's been underwhelming this year.
Exactly. You don't boot a routine ground ball in extra innings against Houston. Like that's something you can't let happen. No, he's serviceable
because he was always a stopgap.
We traded for him to be a defensive guy, a defensive stopgap. We elected to get him instead of the other options in the market because we believed in his defensive ability so much and thought, hey, his contact bat could maybe play well in Yankee Stadium. Maybe we could pull a little DJ magic and get some more launch angle there. But no, he sees like 3.5 pitches per at bat, swings at garbage. He's having a great month this month and is barely above average. And it's getting to the point where it's like the errors that he's making are like such costly errors. And they almost always lead to like a very extended inning or runs coming across the board that I just can't keep living with it. And you look at the Marlins right now, who are 33 and 38. They're clearly not that good of a team in terms of contention. And they may barely get a wild card spot. I don't even think that. So I'd consider them sellers at the deadline. So you look at who they have. They've got Jazz Chisholm, who obviously would be the shiny, amazing option. But I highly doubt they move him. So you look at Joey Wendell, who Ryan Garcia loves, and you look at John Birdie, who's having an amazing season for the Marlins. And either one of those guys could play second base and shortstop, and either one of those guys could play third base or left field. So it's like having that utility guy that can literally just play and play well is something the Yankees need. And that's what they've tried to do with IKF and Marwin. And neither one of those guys, in my opinion, has proven that they're a starting caliber baseball player.
Right. And, I'm looking at John Birdie's stats right now. And I mean, the guy is definitely a very solid hitter. He's like IKF on roids, basically.
Yeah, he's fast.
He's so fast. He doesn't have the most power in the world, but he has 2 homers this year. So he already has 200% more than IKF. 14 RBIs. He's hitting 300 with almost a 40% on base rate, which is tremendous.
He sees a lot of pitches.
He
and
gets
for
on
a guy
base.
That's a contact hitter, speed guy, he's got 21 steals. For a guy that's speed that's first crazy. And pretty good defensively, to see him have a near 400 OBP is nuts. And IKF sees like 3.5 pitches in at bat. The complete opposite of John Bird.
He's walking 12.3%. That's pretty insane, actually.
For a guy of his build, it doesn't make sense that he should be like this prolific walker, this guy with elite plate discipline. But he is. And he's also got a couple years of control. And I think that having him 97% in whiff rate, he doesn't swing and miss either, unlike IKF. So it's like IKF's 97% swing whiff rate. He doesn't swing and miss. Like that's the thing with IKF that I do like about him, Like that's the only thing that's like redeemable. is that he swings and he makes contact a lot of the time. He fouls off a lot of pitches. He hits soft contact. But with that, it's a lot of ground balls, which leads to a lot of double plays, a lot of inning killers, a lot of one pitch at bats, and a lot of it's a 3-1 count and IKF swinging at a slider in the dirt. So it's like that's what John Birdie doesn't do. He's the opposite. He just takes his time. And that's why it's like I think having someone like him slotted in over IKF would do wonders for this team. He's batting 300. Like he's got his WRC plus on the season is 138, which I want to say is 8 and 9 points higher than Jazz Chisholm. Like
he's a
really good player.
Is there a world where the Yankees trade IKF?
I think there's a world. I don't think it's one that we live in. I think it's like the multiverse of madness where there's another dimension where IKF was never a Yankee to begin with. But I think that they could think about it because, again, if he's just kind of more or less come next month doing what he's doing, which is like 85 WRC plus, 80 WRC plus baseball with mid defense, then yeah, he's not a starter. I think they'd be more likely to move him to the bench than to trade him. But if they're looking for another shortstop and they say, yeah, just give us IKF, he's only got half of a season left on his deal anyways, and he's going to be going into, I believe, arbitration where he's going to be needing to get paid a couple million. Right. I don't think the Yankees do that. So I think this is a one and done season for IKF. I just don't know if they say we're going to give up on him halfway through the season.
So here's my my problem with, going out and getting another infielder is that the Yankees, can they justify sitting Josh Donaldson at $25 million a year? Like, can you actually?
Yeah,
I guess you have no choice.
You have to look at what the Angels did with Justin Upton. The Angels just said "fuck your contract" and then they DFA'd him. Like, I guess, good players,
look at Dallas Keuchel too.
Dallas Keuchel, like Josh Donaldson, I will say I don't think he's going to get cut or DFA'd or anything because of how good his defense has been. And I do genuinely believe he's not a 60 WRC plus hitter. Like that's how bad he's been in June. He's been abysmal. I don't think he's that bad of a player. Like the same thing goes for Stanton this month. Stanton, you take away, I think, the 2 home runs he hit against Houston, and he was 6 for 71 this month. So it's I think that for Donaldson, I don't think we move on from him or we get rid of him, especially because we have him for 2 years. If anything, I think if he struggles a lot this year, we just look to unload him in the offseason and try to trade away a prospect included with him to get his money off the books. I think that just happened. I could be mistaken, but I think something like that just recently happened a minute ago in baseball. Damn, I can't remember what it is. Anyways, I just think that there's a lot to be said about this team right now in terms of how they're playing, despite the holes that they've clearly shown and have had exposed in the Houston series. Like I told Ryan earlier in the episode we did, that you brought up a great point, that this series against Houston was a great series because it exploited a lot of the weaknesses the Yankees had, and yet they were still able to tie the series, split the series, and win 2 walk-off games, which just deflated the Astros. Even I think that's an interesting question. What do you think was more impressive? What do you think is more deflating? 2 walk-off wins or a no-hitter? I don't know. They both just kind of went at each other in the true grudge match fashion, and yet the Yankees ended on the higher note. That's what's crazy. Even with IKF struggling, even with Donaldson struggling, even with Gallo doing literally nothing, the Yankees split the series with Houston.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think which is more, I guess momentum shifting, being walked off twice or no hit. I would say they're probably about equal. On crazy. One side of it, here's the thing about the Yankees, though, right? They are able to turn it on whenever they want to. They just as you can see, when they're losing and the 8th, 9th inning comes around, they're a different team. Their offense is different. They take more pitches. They're seeing the ball better. They're suddenly
everyone takes pitches too.
And here, let me put this out there. It seems like they care. In the first 7 innings of the game, it seems all right, let's just see if we can hit homers. Let's see what we can do. And then the 8th and 9th inning comes around. They're all right, let's really put it in. Let's really focus up. Now it's
crazy.
Why don't I just do that the whole game? That's
why it's there's that stat that they have now 10 comeback wins or walk-off wins in baseball this season, the most in the league. 10. And we're not even at June's not even over yet. This team is just insane. They love the theatric. They live for the big moment. And there are players that the Yankees could add, like John Birdie or Joey Wendell or Jazz Chisholm in a perfect word. Literally just from the Marlins. You could just even look in the NL East in general. The Phillies, I think, are going to struggle now that Bryce Harper could be out for a while. Go get a reunion with Didi Gregorius. He's posting a 98 WRC plus on the season, plays shortstop, lefty bat, already knows the clubhouse and the team, and loves the short porch. Didi's best years were in pinstripes. So it's like maybe you could look at that as a potential option. Kyle Farmer on Cincinnati. He's having a really solid season and is vaccinated. I believe he was able to play in the Blue Jays series. Like, that's a big thing the Yankees have to think about as well, is who's vaccinated and who's not. Because what if we see the Blue Jays in the championship series for whatever reason instead of Houston, and the Blue Jays are like, guess what? You can't play these two guys you acquired because they're not vaccinated. Now we just lost two big acquisitions because of the stupid vaccination rule, which is not our fault. It's not like political. It's just the way it works. That's how it is. That's what Canada's done. So the Yankees have to consider that. They have internal options like Peraza as well. And even some people have that far pipeline dream of Volpe appearing this season.
Doubtful.
But like, you got to look at other guys as well, because depth wins World Series rings. That's what happened with Atlanta. Their depth was better than everyone else's. They had like 5 outfielders that they just rotated and no one got tired, and they could play matchups out the ass and then beat up on teams.
I don't trust Marwin for that.
Yeah, I don't trust Marwin. I love Mark, but I don't think he's going to be on the roster come October. And then LeCastro, I think, is more of an outfielder at this point than an infielder. So it's like, you got to get someone there. And if Glaber's injury does continue to nag, that presents a different issue. And their bigger issue already right now is if Glaber's fine, that's perfect. That's awesome. He's having an all-star season, but his counterpart is struggling. IKF's like a 1.5, 2 WAR player this season. That's what his pace is. That's not great. That's not what you wanted at shortstop, especially when you could have gone out and gotten Correa. I know people are pissed off that Corey's not been great this year, but I'm willing to bet that Corey Seager would probably play better in a much more friendly hitter park like Yankee Stadium than one of the least friendly hitter parks in the new Texas Ranger Stadium. Like, there were options, and the Yankees swung and missed by getting IKF, and they need to address it at the deadline. Like, I think it's more of a cry for help than the outfield position, because I think that Hicks turning it around right now is all the Yankees needed, because once LeCastro comes back and is healthy, that they'll be able to kind of toss him in there in left field more. And then all of a sudden, Gallo's at-bats will start being lesser and lesser, and I bet they move him. So it's like the Yankees have so many moving parts behind the scenes right now that I'm just so excited for the next month, because there's going to be rumors flying around out the ass. Like, we already saw the starting pitching rumors. We need depth. That's no lie.
I think that's smoke.
Like, we haven't seen Nestor throw over 120 innings ever. So it's like, we got to make sure he's good to go and he's feeling good. And we've already kind of seen this past couple of starts a little bit of mild regression. I don't want Nestor to be burnt out by the end of August and then have a problem where it's like, shit, he was so good, but now we can't even use him in October. Same with Severino or Taillon.
I would trust Cole. Look, okay, so based on if Nestor continues to regress, I will probably say we should use him as a bullpen piece in the postseason.
Because he'd be nasty for 3 innings.
Nasty. Oh, absolutely. I think that would be ideal. But like, I would trust a Cole, Taillon, and Montgomery, like starting 3 in the postseason.
I think I trust Severino more than Taillon right now, and it's crazy because a month ago when we did our top 5 rotation rankings, I had Taillon as my 3. And Severino's my 5.
I still have Taillon as my 3, just because I think he generates such weak contact. I think that Sevy he's getting close though, man. He's looking good. He's getting close.
What was his last game? 6 innings, 12 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts. The dude just keeps doing the damn thing. He's getting a lot of swings and misses.
A couple more of those. I'll probably be on it. But I have to say this. I'll throw this out there. I really do like your John Birdie idea, because in scoring position, he's getting on base 37% with runners in scoring position, which is absurd.
That's what the Yankees struggle with that.
Right. And at home, he's hitting 338 with a near 40% on base rate. Like, he's killing it at home.
And he bats majority of the time, bottom third of the lineup anyways. I mean, I will say recently he's been kind of elevated to that leadoff 2-hole spot.
He's been leading off.
He's been good and how fast he is. But a lot of the time, he was like 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's what I'm saying. He'd plug right in there with the Yankees, and he just carry the bottom third of that lineup, because you have him in there with Trevino, with Hicks. That's all of a sudden a pretty damn solid bottom third of the lineup. Like, that's like top 5, top 3 in baseball, bottom third of the lineup.
Totally.
So I don't know. I'm excited for the Yankees to start making some moves here. I want IKF to turn it around. Don't get me wrong. This isn't just an IKF fuck you video. Like, the kid's a good kid, and he when he wants to play well, he can play well.
Agreed.
And his bunt was clutch yesterday. But it's just clear he's not an everyday guy. He's not a 600 at-bat shortstop at all.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about like where Birdie would be in the lineup. I would love a DJ, Birdie in the 2 slot and Judge in the 3 slot and then Stanton at 4. That would be absolutely elite because those two, I mean, you look at Birdie gets on base at almost 40%, and then DJ also gets on base a good amount. So you
DJ's
have
been
two
struggling
guys.
on a leadoff though. So maybe Birdie leadoff,
Maybe Birdie
Judge
and then
2,
Judge.
DJ 5-6. Because DJ in the 5 hole this year is OPSing 1,000.
Maybe. I could see how that would work. And then you honestly, yeah. I would say,
but that gives the Yankees options.
Makes sense.
That's what's nice with IKF. You have to use him 7, 8, 9.
I wish
if you put him above in that, it's just a waste of a spot in the lineup. He's a 7, 8, 9 hitter. Birdie, honestly, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the luxury to having someone like that, and he's just faster and better defensively than IKF. Like he's so fast. The dude's 21 steals and has got caught stealing like twice.
I mean, you could even go. I would even go as far as to put IKF at 3rd.
Yeah, and give Donaldson less ABs. Put DJ at second base more, first base more. Give Rizzo more days off. Like, don't wear him out.
Yeah,
like that. At the end of the day, you have to realize, as good as this Yankees team has been, we barely are at not even at the halfway point of the season yet. Like
a lot is to come.
We still have like 10 games left before we get to the halfway point. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we're already seeing what's happening with Gleyber and IKF both getting injured in the same game. Right. And granted, they may not be long-term injuries. That's something that could happen at any given moment, and having depth is key and it's pivotal. Every year, the Yankees have kind of had to rely on their depth more than they wanted to. And this year has been one of the outlier years in the past couple of years where everyone's kind of been healthy. That's been a big part of this team, except for Stanton for like a week and like Aroldis. But like
the starters have been healthy. The depth guys have been getting injured this year.
The starters have been the starters have been killing it. I don't think there's been a single injury in the starting rotation there.
Thank God for Eric Cressy. We can thank God for Eric Cressy. But guys, I appreciate you tuning in to Fireside Yankees. Let us know what you think about the middle infield. If you think that maybe we should be going out and finding some supplements or even a starter at shortstop. Your thoughts about IKF, your thoughts about Donaldson. Gleyber should be out for a couple of days for sure. As someone who's had multiple high ankle sprains to my left ankle, I think is more of a low ankle sprain. But there's definitely swelling. Anytime you have an ankle sprain, there's going to be swelling. You got to wait for that to go down. Then you have to assess, the kind of the damage and how long it's going to take to rehabilitate. If it's a low ankle sprain, he'll be out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But look, right now we can afford to lose Gleyber for a little while because you have the All-Star break coming up in a month. Get him a couple games back into shape. Just get the rehab games back in right before the All-Star break, and then take that week off. He'll be back and ready to go after that. So I think I'm not too worried about Gleyber. We just got to win those next games. This series against Oakland is a nice little breather after going through a grueling stretch of Tampa, Toronto, Houston. I mean, walking away with as many wins as we did shows how good of a team this really is. And battling in a couple walk-off wins. So
9-4 in that stretch. 9-4.
You love
to see 2 walk-offs.
2 walk-offs. So resiliency is key for this team. It looks like they got the guts and the resiliency just to win these really close games. So I'm excited.
They have the balls in the gall, Alex.
They have the balls in the gall. They got the balls in the gall. And, hopefully it translates to the postseason, because right now, love to get those big wins against Houston. But when it matters most, we've been beaten in the past. There are kryptonite. So hopefully someone else knocks them out before we get there. But, we'll see how it goes, my friends. If you have any thoughts in the comment section below, please leave them. Love to converse and have some good conversation. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.